Next.
Alrighty. Great. So it's I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular December meeting of the Waltham Library Trustees, and wish everybody a happy holidays. It's good to see everybody festively decorated. And with that, I'd like to ask for the review of the minutes. And after the minutes, we'll switch over to our special invited guest, Luke, to hear about a new proposed logo for the library. And I'd also like to welcome Marina Bartley from the Friends of the Library as a guest to our meeting. As we know, the meetings are open, and it's great to have some special guests like this today. Were there any comments or suggestions on the minutes?
No.
If there are none, Chair would accept the motion to approve.
Motion
So
to
moved.
approve.
Second?
At that.
Alrighty, I think it was Maureen and Martha.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion clearly carries. Thank you for your usual outstanding job on the minutes. And with
I
that,
get paid so much extra money for doing it.
we'll add an extra 0 for the new year.
Right, exactly. To the right of the decimal point, no doubt. Yeah.
Right, right. So I'd entertain a motion to suspend the usual order of the agenda to hear from Luke on the new proposed logo.
Motion to suspend.
Okay,
Second.
second?
I don't know who
Alright.
said that.
Second, Maureen.
Oh, Martha said,
Martha and Maureen.
Yes.
Yep, opposite order this time. Yeah.
M&M.
switching it up.
Alrighty, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alrighty. Luke, I'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, so going to be just showing you a presentation that Ewan and I put together to orient you to the process of what we've gone through as co-designers of this and our thinking, and get some input. Much credit to Ewan. They really drove this happening in the first place, and unfortunately they're not able to join us, but anyway, Ewan put a lot of work in, and should go recognized.
Sounds good. I got one quick question for you. Where
Yeah.
are you?
In the teen room.
Cool.
Yeah,
Looks nice. Yeah.
I'm here in my normal desk spot, where I would normally be if we had live young people here. They're missed. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and share this presentation with you all, and just kind of as a little orientation, I am going to, we had a couple of possible approaches to how to share it with folks, and we recognized that most people would not see a logo initially with any context at all. So rather than explain our thought process all at the beginning, we wanted to give you all a chance to have a kind of raw, immediate reaction, and then I'll go through and explain the thought process behind the designs, just to kick off, to get started. And let me make sure. Great. We just kind of wanted to explain from the get-go, like what are we trying to do here? And so we think a good logo has a couple of different elements. It's good design, of course. You know, something that's simple, timeless. One thing is as a guide, something that's structurally sound. It's got to look good in color and in black and white and on top of a background. The typography should be pleasing, and there are really two elements. There's the word mark, Waltham Public Library, and then there's the logo mark, which is the symbol. So both of those elements have to work well together. And then for good concepts, it has to be appropriate to what we do. It's better for it to be abstract than very literal. I like this ambiguous, intriguing, remarkable is something that we came across in looking for guidance on this. We thought it was something that should honor tradition, but it should also anticipate transformation. So it's, looking backwards and forwards, and it should be kind of institution, location specific, something that relates to the library, to Waltham. So just to be, brutally honest about our logo, we are not fans of our current logo, which is why we're here. Thank you for the time and energy it's put in, and the energy of the creator. Some things we wanted to avoid when working on our proposals was we wanted to avoid too many thin lines, not just in the logo, but in that underline under Waltham Public Library, the thinness of the text. When you put that on top of something else, sometimes these elements can be hard to read. We have a logo mark that's really tall and a word mark that's really wide, and that can kind of create some problems when you're using it in space with other logos or with other designs. So we wanted something that was a little more flexible and whole, I guess. The fonts are outdated and too stylized. It's hard to pull off that sans serif font in a lot of design lately. We've got the window. It's clearly a window, so that's a little more literal than we wanted to be. Because of those space issues, it's not that versatile, and we're not thrilled about maroon. So we were going to try and go for some other brighter colors. They were a little more vibrant, modern, lively. Here are some logos that we really like.
The New York Library Lions.
Yeah, it's classic. But then, the way that they've extended that into their Performing Arts Center and the Schomburg Center, really nice. And apparently Canada does good logos for libraries. So we kept coming across ones that we really liked. And then that one in the corner that Seattle did not end it. They had designers come up with this amazing logo that we really love, and then they decided not to use it, which is unfortunate because we think it's super cool. But so these are some kind of things that were informing some of the thinking. To start off, we knew that we wanted to have like an institutional typeface that kind of helps define the identity. And so the type that you have been seeing on here has been a font called Spartan, and it comes in a variety of weights, but which gives us flexibility depending on how we're using it. But we thought that it was both strong and modern, but it was also friendly. There's kind of a, it's still a strong, what's called a Gothic typeface, but it's welcoming. It's not so, I don't know. It's got a little character. It's hard to describe. So this is our first concept, and we call it the W. I'm just going to show you these things and kind of move through, let you react. All right. This is inverted. These are ideas of how it could possibly look in color. we kind of have a series of concepts that are all triangular. So this is one variation, triangles. Inverted. And one potential way we could use color in it.
Yep.
Another way we could use color.
Okay.
The T's kind of funny in that font.
What's the T?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the friendly one example of what I was kind of talking about. There is a little element of like
Informality.
yeah.
Cool.
Planes, we call this second variation planes. So black on white, white on black. Again, an idea how we could use color. Another idea.
Mhm.
The last variation in this theme is we call flags. All right. And then the third idea has a couple of different variations. The first one we called circles. One idea of how we could use color. Another idea. This second variation is bricks, which rotates the orientation of those segments. And then the final concept we called fabric. And so these are, basically the four options. Choosing one of these variations, basically. So, and here are potential color versions. And okay, initial reactions. Anything, speaking to anybody, anything that folks are not excited about?
Well, I guess I'll start it off. I'm kind of one of those I've never understood or saw art, anything that was abstract. I'm kind of a literalist. So to me, the one on our left, the Waltham Public Library, it looks like the closest to a W for Waltham. So I'm not, for want of a better term, I'm not an artsy-fartsy kind of guy. I'm more straightforward. You'd waste any real art on me. So if looking at it, I like the upper left corner with the what we see like the W, but the only issue I think I have with that, it kind of really reminds me of the YMCA logo.
It
Yep.
reminded me of VW, Volkswagen.
Those are both pretty good brands.
Yeah.
The one with that you're calling circles, especially with the bricks, circles and bricks, I guess. It has, it sort of evokes the old Windows logo, and it also evokes the history, the bricks, kind of the architecture of the library. It's not necessarily my favorite, but it's just a comment. when I first saw the fabric, I thought, yeah, but you couldn't draw that. And I realized, yeah, you could really easily. And you could see it getting kind of whimsical and different uses of it when you start to use it more. Not casually, there's some other word for it that you just kind of, oh, you quickly sketch it out and you can just go like make the loops and then right through.
Yeah.
Might work better for Lowell, but because of the fabric connection. But I do kind of like it, and I can sort of see the W in there, and I also see a bike rack, but that's my problem. Probably the one I like the first one to me looked like VW, even though I like the W of it. It looked like a VW. The flags I didn't. The color one I really liked. The other ones got a little, when they got all on top of each other, they got a little busy, and I thought I was watching Chorus Line or something. I could see the women's legs, kind of. But it's really very interesting, and I think I also liked when you had multiple colors. I realized you need something that works in different, different things. But when you had those three colors, or maybe four in one case.
Yeah.
I liked those a lot. That's the first reaction. Probably when I go away and write this up later, it'll be completely different. So,
Boy, this
so
is
thank you. It's awesome.
cool. Yeah, this is some really cool work that's gone into this. I guess in terms of the VW one doesn't quite cut it for me. I don't know, maybe if it was a WPL in the middle of the circle or something.
Yeah.
Just to distinguish it a little from VW. I do like the simplicity of it though. That's got a lot going for it there. The bricks, maybe with a W in the middle of it, would appeal to me just a little more. I do like the variation in the concentric circles, and the colors is gorgeous in the colors. What you call the flags, if it was tilted just a little more, or perhaps framed, it could be pages, like pages in a book.
Yeah.
Perhaps is what jumped out at me. And the fabric is growing on me. I didn't quite get a warm and fuzzy from it to start with. And then again, it kind of comes back to me, is there a way to put WPL or something into the fabric? I realize probably not in terms of keeping the fabric, the weave of it, but like a secret handshake if it said WPL in it. It might bring a little sophistication to it. I really like these efforts. Wow. Thank you.
Does the city have any type of logo at all itself?
What's that?
What was the
Does the
question?
city of Waltham have a logo?
It's
The
got
city
a
of-
seal.
A seal,
A seal, yeah, it's got the seal.
which is round.
Okay, but
Hello?
other than aquatic animals, no other
Okay.
other
News to me a bad news.
Waltham logo.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Steve. Maybe
I said,
everybody else did.
Other than aquatic animals, no other logo per se, other than the city seal. Okay.
The,
I think the animals are an eagle and a beaver, at least on the top of City Hall.
Oh, I thought it was a seal.
no, seal,
Ignore a bad joke.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have.
do you, sorry. I want to make sure everybody gets to say their opinion before Luke continues on with a little further,
Again, I think my eye not being appreciative of abstract kind of went right to the W, but I don't believe that that might be the best option, and that I think there are so many, as someone else already said, there are so many things that equate with the W. You've got a lot of the Waltham Hawk or the Waltham High School things have got maybe not that exact W, but a variation of a W kind of thing. So if we're looking for something really new, I would think that that might come off the table a little bit. I had written down planes, but did you show a couple of variations within the planes? Because then I had flags. So there was some variation of the planes that stuck out in my mind. So there were a couple there that I kind of went to. And then the fabric one, as Alan said, was initial look, I was like, ew. But seeing it in color, I see the W. I mean, that you kind of, you get a W in that. And then the idea of like the library being interwoven of so many different things kind of has
Fabric of the
something to it.
community.
Luke, they may have outsmarted you.
I have to say, when you showed all of the logos you liked, I was holding my breath that there was a second page that was going to have the Library of Congress on it, and I was going to scream. I don't know if people know that logo, but it's the word library in a circle. It's really bad. Anyways.
Yeah, you know, logos are hard. Logos are hard. We definitely, I mean, there are a lot of ones we clearly are not fans of, or ones that we're fans of, and what, you know, as folks who are not, I don't know, we don't make logos for a living, you know, so we did our best to come up with some ideas, and but yeah, there's no doubt logo making is a hard world. All right, did folks everybody chime in that had any thoughts before we moved on?
I think I've said my say.
All right.
I'm
Then
good.
I'll go ahead and let's explore meaning. So again, we liked the logo to mean something and have a good concept and not just a good appearance. The first one, like we all said, like it's a W, it's recognizable as a W, but really that's all we've got. Like it's just a W, right? So we, you know, if it is a solid choice. It's not our favorite just because we don't. It's just a W. So. These triangles, these different, and here is the three different variations at once.
A little bit by two.
Initially, we had kind of started off on this series, kind of like I believe it was Alan, maybe you had brought up that it looked kind of like pages of a book potentially.
Mhm.
You're totally right. This is kind of the symbol in this first one. Can you see my mouse when I am moving around? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
In this first one, you know, we thought kind of about how we have a children's, teen, adult departments kind of serving different individuals. It's kind of the shape of that triangle of a human torso body. But it's also pages of a book, right? These could be beacons, or, you know, the lights that they shine to draw people to a movie premiere or something like that. This flag's kind of talking again about that. The humans, you know, torso or human figure kind of idea, but also like different interests that people have, different flags that represent what they might be interested at in the world, and offering options for people. And so again, like triangles as people, triangles as book pages, triangles as beacons, and flags. It is also kind of a W in that the threeness of it. And the thing we thought it fell short on was that there was nothing really unique to Waltham besides the W-ness. But our bigger concern is that triangles are everywhere, and a lot of libraries have logos that modify triangles to represent those book pages like we're talking about. And I think you and I both feel strongly that that using a book to represent what we do doesn't capture the whole of our responsibilities, and so we felt like we did not want to, even though we created these ones, we don't think that they're the best choice, because we think we should set there's a different scope of things that I think we do, and we don't want to discount that full picture. So how can we capture the fullest picture became the challenge we placed for ourselves. And so one of the first attempts at that was this circles idea, and it could kind of come up. We were thinking about Waltham being kind of a second civic hub of greater Boston. Where we're kind of an urban center surrounded by our own set of suburbs, separate from Waltham, and so we're thinking about the library as a place where people come together, come towards, and congregate. And so these circle ideas, we have kind of 4 rings, and we also thought about those age ranges of the demographics that we serve, just youth, teens, adults, and seniors. Kind of added seniors into that picture for us as we were thinking about 4s. And we were thinking in general about, there are 12 segments. We were thinking about how do we tie this to Waltham tradition. Obviously, Waltham Watch is a common, Watch City is a common way folks pull the history of the place into the identity. And we were trying to think of how could we represent it that's not super watchy or super clock, So we tried to make that design as it's still 12 segments, but how could we make it as abstract as possible and still represent? This is what I'm talking about this concept of a hub, of just surrounded by, kind of more suburban towns and that might come into Waltham for entertainment or for work. Mm-hmm. And as we were thinking about the traditions in Waltham, we were thinking, okay, we got the watch, but what other thing can we talk about as far as history? And we were remembering from last year's Hidden Figures experience that the computers that were on the Apollo missions were assembled by hand in Waltham factories. And so this is what software wasn't code at that point. Software was hardware. These different patterns of weaving, and so women in Waltham factories that had been at one point maybe producing watches were converted to producing these computer systems for the Apollo missions. And so that's how this became this. So again, we still have the 12 segments like a watch, but if you rotate alternating circles to mimic that idea of weaving, you can see you can imagine each one of these lines being a separate warp or weave. I've got some terminology coming up later, but I always get them confused. But right, so this if you think of this as a piece of thread going over a rib here and then under the rib here. Are you seeing what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Mhm.
Kind of like, so that's kind of how this started, but we also thought it was appropriate because we're in a beautiful brick building that the pattern of which really is mimicked in that design. Clearly, we have a lot of historic brick buildings. There's also this tower, the circular brick arrangement, kind of thinking about these brick towers. And so just when you pull all those together, these 4 developmental stages, concentric, we have bricks of the building. We also thought about these different rings as representing the diversity of the community, with that tying it to the woven circuit boards that talking about the fabric of the community. And there's a little joke I think Steve will appreciate with this, talking about if you think about these rectangles as books or DVDs or whatever things, we have materials circulating. The space in the center still represents like the folks who congregate. We are a community space where people can be and spend time, and not just the materials, but we get a little bit of both of those in this logo. Again, Waltham is a hub, and it speaks to some of the unique history of Waltham. This is not as much a concern as all the logos with books in them, but it did remind us of the Public Library Association logo. Not a bad thing, we're a public library, and it's really not that similar, but since we brought it up previously of things that it reminds us of, we thought we'd note that. And then finally, this W really came about as an extension of thinking more about the Apollo mission. And these were what those circuits actually ended up looking like when we found. So you'll see immediately that these shapes that we came up with are representations of that. Of course, it represents, actual woven fabric, and being such a diverse community, we think about the way that every culture has some kind of weaving tradition. We were thinking about the popularity of community art projects, like community weaving projects like this one. We're thinking about Ewan said, this also looks like what paper looks like under a microscope. So still speaking a little bit to that the books, but so that, these, again, fibers that are woven or arranged together to become a solid material. In the technological era that we live in, we have the hashtag, which is its own kind of weaving symbol, but also a way that folks find each other, that strangers find each other to connect. And so that's where we got the W. And obviously, we, like you noted, this fabric here represents a W, and we liked the added symbolism that, like, this is typically the warp are the fibers that are attached to the loom, and the weft is what is woven into them. So thinking about this logo, if the W represents the library, the message is more that we weave ourselves into the community, and not vice versa. And we think that's important because we kind of think of ourselves in process of of a transition in library, thinking more broadly, but definitely here in the building, that there is an old way, which is that focus on the institution, that the city or the library is this foundation, and that's where your thinking starts. People come and go in the city and in the library, but either way, the users are the people who show up, and it's up to them. And we build services that suit what we're used to doing, and whoever happens to visit and take advantage, then great for them. We think that the way we're moving generally is that the people are the foundation, and that rather than remaining in the building doing our thing, that we go to the people. We're present in people's lives, and we build services to suit people regardless of their location or whether they're present in the library or regular visitors. We want everyone to be using it, and we see it as our responsibility to make sure we're reaching everyone that we can. So, that's one element of what we like about this logo. And again, here are the colors. Still 4 developmental stages, still talking about the diversity of the community. Still talking about the fabric of the community. The bricks of the building, that's a typo from me copying and pasting here. So ignore that. That's not applicable as much here. The paper fibers, since we're talking about the Apollo missions, speaking to technology and exploration and that forward thinking mindset, even if it's referring to a historical tradition. That outward facing versus inward facing mindset, and it talks about it points to the unique history of Waltham. So out of all of these options, really based on the logic that I've just shared, we think we really think that these two are our favorites. We think they work the best. There is a lot of line work, but overall the idea is simple, they're flexible. We think that they're unique. They're not really things that we've seen. Speaks to the past, present, and future of Waltham. They both talk about some of the same themes, that developmental stages, diversity of the community, and we think most importantly that they leave room to represent the fullness of what we do. So so that's kind of where we're at. Just to talk about colors, we showed you some ideas. We're not totally sold on those colors or particular angles. We see the use of color kind of functioning in helpful ways. What we're doing here, we've got again, that maroon color is really present. This is the Salt Lake City Public Library system. This is not actually the best example, but we see a little bit more variety of color on this. I can imagine a lot more color, but the colors that we use in the logo would become colors that appear frequently on websites or on marketing materials. And it'd be a way for us to kind of signal to the community, what maybe because teal is a frequently appearing color in the teen room, maybe teal is always representative of teens, and teen programs kind of utilize more of that teal color. Anyway, ideas. So like we're saying, this one idea would be that we could choose different colors that represented different age ranges. We can also think about them as different types of things that we do, either policies or collections or services or programs. We also don't even have to keep the same colors through the course of the year. We can pick colors that work well with watch, read, listen, for example, in the summer, and our logo changes to represent those 4 colors. There are lots of options. These are some color ways that we've thought could be potential contenders. We can also go lots of different directions. Color. Everybody responds strongly to different colors, but we like the idea at least of vibrant colors. Here are some ideas in the fabric concept. We also don't have to do multiple colors. I just pulled some color ideas from, this logo took some inspiration from this postcard, and I pulled an olive out of that. So the logo mark could be one color and the text could be another color. Same thing here. Pulling colors from the things that they're inspired by as one option. And here's how, say, the fabric logo could look on promotional materials for us, alongside the Friends logo. That's kind of everything we got. So why don't I back up to something that has all these logos, and now that I've talked a whole lot about the thought process, does it change anybody's minds? Does any new insights or feelings about the options?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was initially drawn, when you did your initial presentation, to the circles with the bricks. I really liked that. And when you showed it in the colors, I liked it in the colors. And when you tied it into the architecture of the building, and that it actually has kind of a unique brick pattern, I like that. And I also liked how you talked about in the explanation of it. The woven pattern, I like it okay when it's in one color. But when, this is just the visual initial thing, the W looks to me like plumbing pipes.
Yeah.
And where I know you can't make them anything but loopy. That was my initial thing, but that's, and then also another thing you may want to think about in terms of, as you're looking in the traditional aspect of the weave, the whole issue around the Boston Manufacturing Company and the weaving that was done there.
Absolutely.
I think people, older people, think of the mill as iconic Waltham more than they do the circuit boards and the weaving that Raytheon might have done in relationship to the space project. So you have to kind of include them both in your thinking, and it works. But yeah,
Absolutely, I agree with Marie big time on that. I was realizing when I made my comment about Lowell that everything they did they learned from Waltham, and it had to do with the Boston with the manufacturing.
I definitely appreciate that perspective. There's so much history, and one, having an idea of what folks really think about of all those options is super helpful.
I was envisioning having a logo with if you do the fabric, you can have a kickoff in the children's room with everybody making those pot holders with the loops.
Yeah.
And they can pick their own colors. I like the fabric one the best.
I would go with the fabric one as well, basically because I like at least seeing something that has a W, because basically, as I was kind of saying before, I don't always get the artsy stuff and whatnot. So at least with the fabric, we see the W in there, which we kind of have as Waltham. And the reality is I think most people are going to look at it as to what they think it really means, because unless you have like, oh, what's his name? Smokey Bear as your symbol for the forest department or something like that, that's very well known. I think most people, whatever they see whatever they like about the fabric is what they're going to see into it. I don't think we have something that we have a tradition of 100 years, like, you know, the Clydesdales that we would have, that somebody would automatically think of the library that way. And so unless you're going to, I think, have something that's just a very straightforward, non-artsy type of thing where people see something that, I don't know, and again, I'm not suggesting you do it, like the building or something that's concrete, people are going to always look at what they think is inside of the logo. And because I like the W, I agree it looks kind of like pipe, but at least there's a W in the fabric. And with the fabric, as you said, I like the idea of being able to change the colors as you go along with it. And so that if you have something that, you know, red, yellow, and green is going to look best in that particular circumstance, that's great. And then if red, white, and blue is the next color because it works well for it, we go that way. But just my thoughts on that.
I think it's a distinctive design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I can't think of any other logo that I've seen that kind of weaves like that. So I think that's really cool to have come up with it. Where did you guys come up with it on your own, or did you spot it somewhere else? I'm not trying to pull your secrets out.
Everything here is just generated from our minds. Like they're obviously, you know, we're not the only person who has thought about triangles or W's, right? So
Cool.
But at least, I mean, yeah, we weren't trying to copy anything except trying to translate an idea into, I mean, like really just looking at that one image that I shared of the circuit, that Apollo circuit, like it was right there, you know, you just look at it and see it. So how do you translate that into something as simple as possible? And
in the black and white, it sort of feels like a little bit of the W isn't necessarily obvious,
right
off the hand.
Yeah.
In color, it definitely much more. Is it possible to try to expand the size of the up and downs, the W, so that it stands out just a pinch more, maybe, in black and white?
Yeah, I can.
So it's just a little, you know, like in an all caps font, you know, you'd have your bigger first letter font is what I'm thinking of. Those threads were just a little thicker. It might jump out a little bit. I don't always catch, you know, cool fonts or elements of design on my first peek at them. And, you know, for design challenged folks like me, it might help me to see it a little earlier or quicker.
Right.
I think I like that one the most myself.
All right.
It's just nice because it is unique.
And the whole Mills history here too.
Definitely.
You know, Museum of Industry and all it's a marvelous link. And I hadn't even thought of the Raytheon the computer kind of link, so that was a whole new thing for me to consider and be aware of today. So I really like that too. Marina, what did you think of these different things?
Well, I've been keeping quiet because as a guest at this meeting, I didn't know what the protocol was. I love the fabric one. I agree that, you know, the circles and the fabric one are the two two ways to go. But I like the interweaving of the cultures, the languages, the fabric, the history, the 128. And I like the way it fits, because I remember a few years ago, we were trying to do some printing with the different logos, and the imbalance of the windows and the logo. So, and the words on the existing logo made it difficult to transfer. So keeping it all in one block would certainly be easier to use in the future. But I really like all of the history, the mills, the weaving, the fabric, the 128 highway twisting around, and the technology aspects of it. I think that's the way to go. And it to me, it also shows potential, because it's growing something, and that's what the library does. It knits all aspects of the community together, but it also enables all kinds of things to develop out of it. And, that's what a foundation or a weaving is. So, but I could certainly be happy with the concentric circles as well. Yeah.
Luke, I think you gave this demonstration to the right crowd. I don't know if you prepped them ahead of time, but they definitely passed. You all definitely passed the test for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever meaning is there in my mind, right? If it's not something that you can't pull out without having to explain it, then it's not that helpful. So I feel like it's encouraging that the reactions folks had even before this second half of the presentation were kind of pointing towards those meanings from the get-go. So
It's very unique, the weaving. From what you showed us of the other ones, it's the other libraries and towns and associations. It seems to be, very, very unique. Yeah.
Alan, I made a note of your suggestion. How would you prefer to proceed? I'm assuming the board would want to vote on it. You certainly can take some time. We can come back to it.
Why don't we? Well, what I would suggest is that we can consider making a final decision either in January or February, maybe.
Okay. What do we have to consider? I mean, why so long? Serious question. I'm just trying to figure out what the process is. I haven't been a part of this kind of thing before, so.
Well, that was just a suggestion. It certainly doesn't have to be cast in stone.
Well, just to weigh in, I feel like I don't need a lot of time more to consider.
My question was, I didn't know if Luke and, I'm sorry, who's the other person that you keep referring to? Ewan. Did you have any thought as to when you might like to have it in place, or how long it would take to decide colors and things like that? Once it's decided, how much more time would be needed to actually get it in place, I guess, is my ultimate question.
Right. What do you see as the next step, Luke? Yeah.
Well, I mean, if folks are generally leaning towards that fabric one, that simplifies the next steps. I mean, if it's a matter of, if folks are curious to see what some modifications like you suggested, Alan, might be, then, turning that around and seeing whether that resolves some concerns, or if prefer one way, the original way, whichever. I mean, that could definitely be a first step. And the colors are.
I feel like it would be if the board was all on board, like the board was all consensus about the weaving. I would And there really is no pressure, but I think since we're so close to the new year, I'd like to initiate the change for January 1st. And even if we have to tweak a little bit of, for example, that thickness in the W and still finalize our formal colors, we could still start implementing that change on the website and on some of our black and white stationery, on our email signatures, that sort of thing. And I think, again, changing, the minute differences are probably only for our eyes, right? Like, I don't think the community would notice too much of that, of those mini changes. So if we could sort of be all on the same page that we would officially be moving forward with this in the new year, give or take a couple of minor tweaks, I'd like to move it forward.
Was there any expressed opinion from the department heads and staff such as that have seen it?
We have not shown it to all staff. The department heads have seen it, and they were, and Luke can speak to this specifically. He did a meeting with just the department heads.
Right.
They were generally of the same mindset. Is that correct, Luke?
Yeah, most folks leaned towards this fabric version. Yeah.
So we passed that test too then.
We're self-conscious about setting it up as it is, but how else do you share it with folks and try and give folks an honest shot? It's just a strange. This has been an interesting process of just sharing ideas with folks. So
yeah, I think it was very well done. Yeah,
not so much a test, but either we influenced everybody successfully, or folks are in agreement that there is a clear winner, or mostly in agreement.
Let me flip the question. Is there anybody that strongly objects to the fabric, that it just doesn't click for, or has some sort of an visceral reaction to?
No.
Okay.
And I like the font too, so.
Yep.
That seems to be a given, so.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to give a preliminary approval of it then, and consider questions of color and exact thickness of W, and just kind of leave that open to evolve as it gets used a bit, or what do people propose? Chair's open to a motion.
Oh, I don't know if this has come out as a motion, but I'd be perfectly happy with staff running with it from here. And whether or not it's settled on a single set of colors, or, personally, I like the idea of being able to swap different colors in and out.
Like with the seasons or something, yeah.
Yeah, the logo's so noticeable, the logo's unique, and swapping in and out different colors, I think would offer some nice flexibility and creativity there as well. So I don't know if I'm making a motion to let the staff run with it from here, or what, but Alan, maybe you can help me determine whether that's a motion.
I like that idea too. I like the idea of maybe even the colors changing with each program. Like the summer, read, write, listen program. Maybe it somehow evolves its own colors with the pattern. And my suggestion about perhaps just a slightly heavier accent on the W was thinking mainly primarily for the black and white version of it. The colors, it jumps out just fine. And I'm not a designer, so it was just a suggestion off the top of my head to see what it looks like. But yes, I like the idea of the staff running with it, because they'll be certainly likely to be improved by the more folks that work on it. And I'm sorry we couldn't set it up for Ewan to be here with us too. I'm sure. Please pass along our compliments to him on your work together. This is really cool.
We are very fortunate to have Ewan and Luke, and I think they did a really fantastic job and are really nicely presented. by both of them. The last
The
one.
Windows to the World logo was adopted shortly after the renovation. I think the kind of in keeping with Palladium Windows, as it shows its point in time, referring, clicking to those windows, just for whatever it's worth.
I don't expect folks to love this forever. So, it's just it's evolution is good,
Yep.
transformation is good, and
It was a
yeah.
great foundation to work from.
Yeah, and it
Yes.
must be an awesome amount of work because we just went through this to change the logo for Healthy Waltham. And the logos that were presented to us were done by professional people whose profession is to make logos. So you should be commended that.
Absolutely.
This is not your profession, and to tackle this was really something.
thanks. Yeah, I mean it's fun, and to speak to the flexibility folks are talking about with the rollout. There's a benefit to being in control of the files and whatever, to make alterations as need be, and let things kind of evolve a little bit naturally. So that's much appreciated.
It's reminiscent too of what we discussed, the trustees and I, about the website as well. Just having the flexibility to tweak it as we need it and really create and move as we go. And I love that as just a message to send out for the community in general anyways.
In terms of budget impacts, I guess there's replacing stationery or running out the current supply, ordering some, or self-producing.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I don't think it should be any major effect on our, it would be a pretty nominal increase.
Okay.
We don't bulk print a lot of paper supply that much anymore. We print very often on demand. So we just have a smaller stash of paper. So I think we would still use up what we have and start to shift on our own devices when we print out paper and stuff with the new logo.
Luke, could you show the page that has the Friends of the Library logo and the proposed library logo?
There you go.
Okay, yep.
Mm.
They match nicely.
Mm.
And there's something about, I mean, when you shrink it and you see especially the white on a color, the weave, I don't know what it is. The weave kind of comes off the page more clearly as a weave in that way, I think, than the color on white. It's kind of one of those visual tricks, I guess. I don't know.
It does. I like the white on the color.
Yeah.
You can see the weave.
Well, cool. And it seems like there's a lot of room to continue to play with it, which is fun. I like that notion. In terms of what we should do, I guess I would propose some language along the lines of adopting the proposed logo with the flexibility incorporated into acceptance. I don't know exactly how to word that. Was that along what you had in mind, Martha? Or?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
But to write it down for Marie, let's see.
I'll figure something out.
How does Madam Clerk
All right, thank you.
sound? Okay.
I'll figure something out.
Okay. So the
Thank
chair
you.
would accept the motion to accept the new logo in all its
Has to be seconded.
all its splendid design options that have been presented. And so that was, so I'd look for somebody to make the motion and somebody to second it. If that works.
What Alan said. I'm happy to put that motion out.
Alrighty.
And second.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. Motion clearly carries.
Thank you.
And a hearty thank you. I wasn't even aware we needed a new logo, but I'm firmly convinced, and appreciate the professionalism of the design and the thoroughness of the presentation.
Thank you for being open to the idea and for all the great work that you do supporting the library.
Love what you're doing in the young adult room there, and look forward to chatting with you a little bit more about it. It's great.
Yeah,
Love seeing it.
for sure. And, looking forward to doing so in person someday.
Yes.
The
I
unprecedented
know.
future.
Someday soon.
Thank you.
All right, I'll bow out.
Thank you, Luke, and thank you, Ewan.
Okay.
Yes.
If
for
I
sure.
could have just a moment to say, I want to thank you all for letting me be a visitor to this meeting. I'm going to buy out now because I'm sure you all have other business to do. And I was here so that at our next Friends meeting, I could explain this process a little bit more. I love the decision that you made. Having been part of logo redesigns in the past, I'm very impressed by all the work that came in. I want to jump on what Maureen said. It's hard work, and the background that came in on this one was just amazing. So thank you to Luke and all. But I do leave with a little bit of a fear that the Friends will now have to move forward from the stacks of books to something more contemporary. So I don't know if this was a good idea or not from my personal perspective.
Well, I look forward to a whole new line of clothing design.
Yeah,
So thank you very much. And
sporting the new library logo and a totally new Friends logo.
Well, thank you. So thanks a lot.
all right. Thank
Take
you all.
care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All righty, so I'd welcome a motion to return to the regularly scheduled agenda.
So moved.
Steve,
Second,
is that a second? Great.
second.
Okay. Let's see, so we accepted the minutes previously, having taken the attendance. That was a great presentation by Luke. Holy
Yeah, that
cow.
was great.
And, not to discount Ewan really was instrumental as well. And they did a great job, and they've been very, very patient with me and, presenting it quite a few times now. So I appreciate that. They're doing a great job. Yeah, looks great. Thank you.
Hopefully they had some fun with it too. It felt like there was a lot of a creative synergy and engagement with this.
It's a good team effort. Yes.
All right, expenditure report.
Yeah, I think expenditures look pretty good. We're holding pretty steady, around 40% spent out, which is just about right on track where we want to be for the middle of the year, just about the middle of the year. As you know, we've the last couple of years implemented a mid-year fiscal close just on our end, just to see how we are matching up with the city's numbers. So we're actually going to do that a little early this year. Just because our budgets are a little bit lower, we really want to make sure that there are no mistakes. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll just be line by line going through everything for the mid-year pretend closeout, but I think we're doing pretty good. 40% is exactly where I would want to see us at this point.
Okay. And we're 38 and change, so that's just about on the button. Good. 38% change.
Yep.
Great. Let's see. So that's good to hear, and that's a nice tie-in, perhaps, to circulation statistics.
Yep.
Okay.
Honestly, not so bad. We had a busy, relatively speaking, we had a busy November where we've dropped down in rank, which is good. We went from number 14 to number 13. As you know, we try to stay hovering around the top 10. So we're getting back down there. That's good to see. Still number 7 in terms of electronic circulation, overdrive circulation. Doing pretty well. The children's book bundles are doing super well. They're approving a ton of them. It's holding pretty steady, all things considered.
Where do the book bundles show on the list.
That's a good question. It actually only shows up under the regular book circulation for the
Books,
town.
okay, yeah.
But they're
It's
not-
such a creative idea. I
It really-
love it. And that's the way I browse as I get to the stacks, and it's hardly ever the book that I'm just looking for. It's the ones on either sides of it and stuff. So it's just marvelous.
And just this week, we just rolled out adult book bundles, which are a little more simplified, but now we have some book bundles for adults as
Oh,
well.
good.
We're not there. It's not a clamoring demand. I think the demand in the children's materials is stronger, but I think it's something fun for adults to try as well. I mentioned those stats, and then electronic resource, just a little bit down since October, but still really great numbers. The audiobook circs, still super popular. Canopy, actually, November was their busiest month. Hoopla was a little bit busier. Sorry, it was Overdrive that was a little bit less than normal. Yeah, numbers look pretty good.
Yeah. Alrighty. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the motion to place the expenditure report on file.
So moved.
Second.
Steve and Martha, great, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And let's see, continuing with library operations, any news on personnel?
Yeah, nothing too exciting in terms of personnel. I think overall, we're a little bit low on staff. We're starting to feel the pinch on we have a couple of vacancies that we are hoping to fill, and with all the quarantining due to COVID, the requirements if you are exposed, fortunately the staff is remaining relatively healthy, but if you're exposed or you need to travel for some reason and you need to self-quarantine until there's a variety of protocols in place. So we're just keeping an eye on it. The city has given permission to bring the high school pages back. So that permission just came back. So we've got to do a little finessing on how that will actually work, in particular, because we're not open on the nights and weekends, and with the increasing numbers, we want to just sort of keep an eye on that, but we're certainly starting the discussion. While we are not open to the public, we're doing a little bit more internal training. That Ryan Dowd customer service, it is customer service, but we had done the homeless librarian training. We're going to start focusing on some training for better service to youth, teens specifically. And Kim Hewitt, who's the head of CERC, developed a skills assessment for all the staff, just to kind of make sure the skills assessment to make sure all of us library staff actually know how to do all these library functions. And it was a tough assessment. One of my staff called it humbling, and I would echo that sentiment. There's some tasks that we don't necessarily all do all the time on the desk, but it was a good refresher of what we needed to make sure everybody is comfortable doing. So that's moving forward. Everybody's taking the safety precautions really seriously. I did make a note just to mention that with the governor's last update with the COVID, there's no changes to how we're operating right now. Some of the feedback from the state is on limiting occupancy a little bit more, but we're already so far below those numbers, and without patrons in the building, no changes need to happen right now. I did want to mention, this sort of segues nicely into Minuteman. No real Minuteman changes, but the other Minuteman library directors and I, we have been talking online about, operating changes due to COVID and what other libraries are doing. And some libraries are talking about shutting down again, or just changing some of their services, but not everybody. We're just it's just a conversation that we're still monitoring and seeing. Every community has slightly different numbers, but for the most part, things are pretty status quo. No real major changes to report. And we are talking about it. Nothing really else on Minuteman to report. The Friends meeting is going to happen again in January. There'll also be an investment committee meeting happening in January. So we'll check in with them. In terms of new business, I mentioned that we have those book bundles for the adults. We're doing a lot of shelving maintenance. We've just since there are no patrons in the building, just to make sure eventually when people get back in, everything is in exactly the right spot. So that's kind of been a major undertaking. The pages will actually be a very huge help with that coming back if that happens. I did want to mention the survey that we had sent out to patrons just to give us some feedback of how we're doing. I just made a couple of notes of some of the highlights that I wanted to share. The responses were overwhelmingly positive, a lot of gratitude. We got some really great programming feedback from patrons. And I had mentioned this before, but I think a lot of people, it's really helpful to watch our programs on YouTube later or at a more convenient time for them. So this whole recording it live is really working for people, myself included. It makes it a lot easier when you have little ones at home who will not go to bed. So a lot of great program feedback and just things, even when this is all over, that we may continue to do as well, because I think it really benefits the patrons. Some of the ideas, we asked people for their feedback on some safety setups that they've witnessed or experienced at other stores or out and about. They gave us a couple of good ideas, most of which we're doing, some floor marking, watching occupancy, sanitizers. Some people mentioned the occupancy monitoring system, which is something that we just bought, or we're in process of buying, I should say. So we will have a similar system that automates how many people are in the building moving forward, which is great. We asked people for their feedback on the pickup system here at the library, just to see if they felt like if it was safe or some tweaking that we needed to do. And we did not get any bad marks, which was really nice to see. Everybody gave us the feedback that they had either not tried it for personal reasons, or if they had tried it, that they felt we were doing a good job with the social distancing and all the safety protocols. In terms of the wants, we've talked about this, better, more hours for sure. A couple patrons commented on just making sure their privacy was respected when they picked up holds, which is duly noted. We had a conversation with that at our department head meeting, just to make sure that was a pressing concern on the back of everybody's mind, just being conscious of that. A couple of patrons mentioned they would like less wait time on ebooks, and that's a personal pet project of mine, is keeping that ebook wait time down. Interestingly, in the survey, that was in the comments, but in the actual response to the survey, the majority of people who responded said that the wait times were fine. It was just in the individual comments that people could type out. We had a couple people comment on the ebook times, but it is a constant battle for us. I think it's not perfect, but we are paying close attention to it. And then just sort of anecdotally, if you go through all the comments on the document, we had 211 people respond. 17 of them wrote that they loved something about the library. 40 people said thank you, and 17 people told us something very specific that they appreciated about our offerings during this crazy time. And I thought that was a very nice, it was enough that I searched the document, because I kept seeing, oh, we love the library, we're so appreciative, thank you so much. It really was a pleasure to read, and I felt anything, quote unquote negative was fair and warranted and certainly on our mind. So if anybody's watching, I'm very grateful to everybody who participated in that survey. That was really great. And I did want to mention, we talked about this a little bit. I just got an email at, actually, I lied. I'm sorry. I got this, I got this email on Wednesday. I think I got a nudge just before this meeting, but the MBLC did send out a little update on the state aid requirements. They're going to be voting on some changes to state aid requirements at their January meeting. And it was a pretty brief email. They feel like the changes will be, to quote them, similar to those approved for last year's changes. They're not going to hold people, or they will not hold libraries. They will not penalize libraries for not meeting spending requirements, for example, and they're not worried about anything specific in terms of what hours libraries are open. That's something that's usually tracked. So hopefully I'll have something a little bit more to report probably for the February meeting by the time the MBLC votes on whatever the official statements are, but just to keep you in the loop of that for the state aid requirements.
So basically your read on that is that they'll have liberal waiver policies again, as long as there's good effort
100%.
being exhibited by the library and the cities.
Correct. Yep. And they said some, very kind, they actually said in the email, don't worry about leaving state aid. Our requirements this year, just continue to offer services where everybody's still safe, given the ongoing pandemic. So I think sounds like that's headed in the expected direction, which is great. And then the only official thing other that I had that I wanted to address was I had sent that list of meetings out. And if you are all on board, I'm just going to shift those specific meeting dates, if there was no concerns, over to the agenda and repost the agenda for everyone with the correct dates for fiscal 21.
Okay.
I should say I wanted to just put it through May for right now, because I assume depending on how things go and if we meet in person again, it may need another shift. So we'll just pull out the first 6 months if that's comfortable with everybody.
That's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Alan, how about you? Do you want to go over anything in terms of
The bylaws and that sort of thing.
that sort of thing, or?
Let's see. I know you sent out a copy of the bylaws, one in a better formatted version than the other. I'll check my old computer, see if I have perhaps a copy or something or other that might even be a little better. The ancillary documents to that would be a copy of the relevant section of the city charter and of the state statute that reflects on libraries. I'll get with Steve on that. I have copies of those, but I know they're about 20 years old, so I'm not sure if there might be any amendments to them. It's probably unlikely, but I'll check with Steve and then try to get those out in the next meeting. And for a little homework, if it doesn't mess up anybody's holidays, maybe we can just kind of read through the bylaws. I don't know that they need any changes, but just to be aware of them and talking about structure and function was all I had in mind on that.
Okay.
And of course, if there are any amendments needed, we can form a committee.
Yeah.
And okay, art ownership, probably nothing moved on that. The bylaw review and disaster planning. Sounds like any modifications that are necessary in terms of the steps and building count, occupants in the building counters seems to be moving along nicely. So sounds like we're all set on that piece at this point. Any new business from the floor?
I have a question. I had someone reach out to me, knowing or hearing that there were vacancies on the trustee board, and was there a protocol or a process for applying for that, or this person had an interest in possibly serving? And I wasn't exactly sure, to be honest. I know how it came to me to be on the board, but I wasn't sure if that was, I just didn't know what the process is and what information should be told to that person.
Oh, good.
Going forward.
Sure. Let's see. I haven't checked the bylaws on that point, so maybe we can put together. Do you want to be chairman of the nominating committee? That'll teach you.
There you go.
And we can get together offline if you want, just
Okay,
a touch base on what the procedure would be. I agree with you. We do need at least another member, and I'd be interested personally in trying to have an ex officio youth member on the board. I love what the energy that the youth department is showing, and am thrilled at the notion of cultivating lifelong library members out of a group that isn't always attracted to a library. So maybe we can talk about those two things if you'd like, Maureen. And
Sure.
okay. Accept the motion to form a committee for a nominating committee. Sounds like Maureen would be a mover on that. Martha, you want a second?
Sure.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Well, thank you. That's a great thing to hear. Love to fill that 6th position and possibly expand to 7 with a young adult. Good. And let's see, any new announcements? I guess Santa isn't going to come to the library this year. That's too bad.
And is not going to come to the library this year. No, not this year.
Well, at least he's not delivering a lump of coal, so that's good.
I was going to say, if my kids can't learn to behave, it's not anything to do with our house either. But yes, not this year. Holding off on that, but we're making big plans for next year to make up for everything. So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll drop you an email, Maureen, and we can exchange phone numbers and either do a Zoom or a live phone call.
That's great.
Go from there. That'd be super.
Great, thanks.
You bet. Well, thank you. I appreciate that effort to fill the empty chair at the table. There being no other business that I'm aware of in the announcements, I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday and look forward to seeing you all in the new year, if not before.
Great, you too.
Is
Thank
there
you.
a
Everybody.
Thanks.
motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Steve
Second.
and Martha second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. It's been a great year.